So I believe that your differently wired child is not broken, it's not dysfunctional or anything like that. In fact, I think your child is awesome. I think that the problems that you experience are mostly due to the system around you and to the expectations around your child. Now, I want to help you raise a child with a strong self-worth, because if you get to that point, when you get to that point, your child has the perfect basis to become resilient, academically strong, and most importantly, just happy. The way to get there is to change your perspective on your child and his or her learning and development process. Now, a part of you knows that your child is differently wired and needs to follow his own path in some way. Now, another part of you still holds on to the idea and the dreams of having a normal child with a normal academic run and normal relationships and just a normal life. And that's causing you a lot of inner conflict. And that inner conflict plays an integral role in the conflicts that you have with your child and the frustrations that you have over your child. Now, there's a perspective that I want to share with you in this video that will ease that conflict. Most importantly, you have time. Now, unless your child is 18 years old and already flown the nest, you have time to help him or her reach that place, that level of competency that he or she needs to be able to live a life out in the wild. The other thing you need to realize is your child needs that time. He or she can't skip to the level of competency suddenly, just out of the blue, to that level of competency that you expect him or her to be at, given his or her age. Now, your child is not stupid, just that he or she needs to learn things in a different way and in a different tempo than other children. So you need to think in the long term. And by long term, I mean that you need to think about what your child needs to be able to do when he or she turns 18. And I have a tool just for that for you in a second. Now, thinking in the long term like that gives you 3 things. The first thing is, whatever he or she is not able to do right now that others at the same age are able to do, you can let go of that as something he should be able to do. Instead, use your child's current level of competence as a baseline for his development process. Secondly, it allows you to let go of at least some of your frustrations, because you can focus on helping your child rise through the levels of competency from that baseline and get a clearer picture of how well your child is developing, instead of when you kept comparing him to other kids his age. And thirdly, it gives you a clear path, and that's what this tool is going to give you. Before you start with the tool, you want to make a list like this of every competency that you think your child should have by the age of 18. So you make a list like this, and you make it so that you have the competency out here, and that could be keeping room tidy, for example. And by age 18, this should be at 100%, because that's when he's moving out of the house, and that's probably when he's moving out of the house, and he needs to be able to do this on his own without anyone telling him to. So that would be one. And then maybe be kind and control impulsivity. Whatever it is that's on your list, you have some kind of rating for where you think that he should be by the age of 18. And then you want to rate him on what level he or she is currently at. Now, keeping room tidy might be at 10. I've written percent. I don't really mean that because I want to make these levels. So maybe he or she's at level 60 and level 20 for being kind and controlling impulsivity. And then you just keep going down the list to get an idea of what the gap is between these two. Then what you do is make this chart. Out here is his age, so we have birth here and 18 somewhere out here. And at level 18, maybe you want to have him at level 100, which means that he is proficient at whatever you want him to be proficient at. Now, if he is 9 years old and his current level is something like 20, you make a line here and here. And then you have a clear representation of where you want to take your child and where he's at right now. Now, previously, you've probably had swings going up and down because you've given him some kind of responsibility and he hasn't been able to live up to that. And then you've taken responsibility back and given both him and you the feeling of a failure. Now, instead of going with these wild swings up and down, you want to go in the smallest increments possible, going up to 100. Now, think of this as levels in a computer game where your child is currently at level 20 and you want to get him to level 100. Now, in any computer game, you know that in order to get to level 100, you have to pass all the levels. So he has to complete level 20 before he can go to level 21. And at level 21, he has to learn something that makes it possible for him to get to level 22. And so on. So at level 22, he has to learn something there in order for him to go to level 23. And that's how you really want to structure the learning process for your child, so that you have the smallest possible increments and you ensure your child's success on the path there. That's going to make it so much more engaging because of these successes and because that your child really does want to learn all these things. He's just not ready to take on these sudden bursts of responsibility. One thing you also want to think about is that only level up when you think your child is ready, and only level one level up at a time. Never skip to level 100 and think, well, he's probably got it from here. So take your time, keep your end goal in mind, and you should probably share this with your child so that you show him that this is now a different process than he or she has been used to previously. And most likely your child is going to have a lot of really constructive suggestions to what these different levels should be in order for him or her to succeed. I hope that this way of thinking makes sense to you and that it gives you a fresh perspective on your child with the baseline and the competency level at age 18 and the computer game levels that you want to go through with your child for helping him or her to get there.